Hello everyone, I am Tacet and welcome to another episode of my Gems of War Let's Play. Today I'm going to be going over a couple more things with the hero class that I forgot to mention from the previous episode. I'll be going into a couple PvP matches and I'll be opening up and explaining a lot of keys. This guild I am in actually did a lot more work than I thought it would. This account's actually 9 days old as of right now, and there's over 800 glory keys right here. They're all glory keys. All of them. And we have over 600 gems. I'll still be doing this Let's Play in a way that will still scale down to people who are just like starting off. But I guess I'll kind of be covering mid-game and early game at the same exact time, because at this point I have a lot of resources, but I'll make sure I won't actually use too many of them, so everything that I have is still downgraded to the point where newer players should be. But let's get into something with the hero class that I actually completely forgot to mention last episode. Actually don't know why I'm going to troop. Go under hero. Go under classes. And the warlord class. For one, you'll definitely want to focus most of, or all of your souls on the warlord very early on. Just focus most of it on the warlord and put a few into other things. Because getting warlord to the warlord class to level 20, it should be a big priority early in the game. It really helps give a lot of stats to the hero. Right now we have +3 attack, +4 armor, +5 life, and +3 magic when using red weapons. All on hero, which is quite a big buff. One other thing that it gives, it keeps giving more red masteries, so we'll be getting a higher chance for a red mana surge. Also, once you get it to level 10, it counts as a broken spire troop, so if you happen to have more broken spire troops, it'll give an extra bonus for that. Traits you won't really need. You shouldn't be getting them early on, because classes don't really get too good traits early on. You need them for other troops so you can upgrade your kingdoms. But the main thing that I forgot to mention are these perks. At 10 wins, 25 wins, and 50 wins you get a perk. The 10 and 25 are always a stat, and the 50 is always a kingdom or a affiliation to a troop type. Like normally hero has no troop type affiliated to it, but every single class has one that you can get. So once you get this one all the way up, you can get you can be a giant class, but you can only have one of these active. Early on, the main things you'll want is the +4 attack and +8 life. You won't really need that last one. Both of these give a extremely large stat boost that will help a lot in early game. You can either have the +4 attack if you want to finish matches quicker, or the +8 life, so you can stay alive longer. So I'm going to go into a couple of matches right now. I haven't actually done any PvP yet this week. Actually, this guild, one thing that I'll be doing, we do have a spot, and we do have quite a few people in this guild that aren't doing that much. We're at number 300 and something, 385 on the leaderboard. Like, there's a lot of other guilds that still have a lot of space if you want to try finding some of these. But something I might do, I'll ask Felicity, the leader of this guild, if I can maybe do a giveaway during this series to see if I can let some of you who are watching into this guild. Because we, like you just saw the resources there, 9 days, we got over 800 glory keys and 600 gems. So I know a lot of you probably want to be in a guild like this, and we're moving up pretty quick. So I'll probably be looking into that soon. So keep an eye out for that. So let's get into a PvP match or two. I'll probably just do one. I mainly just want to show you that unlock of the thing. So let's just get a match here. Probably take the easiest one, just because I'm still not that leveled up on many of my stuff. Let's just see what we have against. You're always going to want to scout. That's really helpful. Yeah, I guess I'll go for this one. It's actually a little bit of an easy match, but the middle one might be a bit too hard, given that it has the new event troop, or the last week's event troop, I mean. Because we're actually pretty low on glory relative to other players. And I was actually looking at like my levels compared to them. My levels are extremely down because I haven't been doing arena or anything like that to farm. So let's see here. I kind of want to take those skulls, but yeah, I guess I have to. I was going to try taking reds instead, but there's nothing I can really do. I saw the extra turns, like I guess I'll just give it. Shouldn't be too much of a threat. I think it's like a couple levels lower than me, which in early game is quite a bit. Yeah, 22 to... Actually, I'm much lower. I guess that guild is really helping too much then. But this was the easiest opponent on my thing. The middle guy probably would have been fine. I mainly just wanted to get this perk first. Yeah, I'm still rolling with the same team. You may notice from last time I actually made a really bad early game mistake. You notice I switched the location of my Wolf Knight and Roani. The main reason for this is there's a lot of troops in early game that people use that hit the back troop, so you don't want to put like your weakest troop in all the way in the back. Like Roani, you need to make sure her armor doesn't get hit that much because she scales her attack based on 2 times her armor. So like right now she's doing 8 right there plus the 6, so that's what, 14. And you want to make sure she takes as minimal damage as possible, so you don't want to have her in the back. You want to have something else tanking, like anything. Anything other than her. Okay, so let's see here. I'll take this round. And he's just going to club him down. You can see my hero stats are actually pretty decent because I keep leveling up the Warlord class, which is really important early on. Because your hero's your main tank, your main damage source, your main everything in the early game. He's going to destroy armor, probably on my hero. Nope, he picks the weakest one. Good job, AI. That's the AI for you. I want that, but that green is right there. That's a bad idea. I guess I'll take the skulls. Safest way. I guess I got that anyways. Oh, I got an extra turn. I wasn't even paying attention. Oops, come on. Take that, and next match, or next cast will destroy him. I guess I'll take that gold, might as well. Let's use Roani instead. Goodbye. And now we unlocked our perk. So let's go get that first perk. Got a matchup right there. I'm going to be going for yellow because, or I don't know, let's see, yellow. I don't have any in yellow yet, so I'm actually going to go for the 1 yellow just because we get a basic yellow weapon. This will come in handy for arena later on. That one. Because it's actually pretty decent. A lot of the common weapons are actually some of the better weapons in the game right now. Let's see. Wasn't there someone on my battle log? Yeah, this guy. Is this the one I think it is? Yeah, this one completely annihilated me earlier with a extremely upgraded Winter Imp. Like, he absolutely destroyed me. And he was like around my level 2 when he had that. Yeah, he still is, or she is. Level 24. So there are like a lot of people who are a lot more upgraded than I am right now, despite the fact that I have all these resources. And now we can unlock Mrs. Scales. Well, as you level, you do want to unlock as many kingdoms as you can. And just spread out. It helps with tributes, and it helps with just accumulating levels and points on all of these other kingdoms. It'll help you get more resources over time. Plus you get the higher surge chance. So I just get that, got a little level on it just to spread out my gold. And now let's go into the actual hero. Click over to, come on, load, 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 load. Any day now, there we go. And now we have the first +4 attack perk. So we're going to set that, head out. And now we have an additional 4 attack whenever we do skull damage. So let's go into another PvP match, probably the middle one, and see how this fends out a little bit better now. Because I think we're at like, what, 12 attack. That is ridiculously high. We could almost take out the higher one here. Let's see what they have for a team. We almost could. Except the other troops are way too leveled compared to what we have right now, so it'd be a really bad idea. So let's just go for the middle one. I still don't have a lose on this account, and I do want to see how far that will go for a little bit. Not that it matters that much. And at this rate, it's going to be hard to anyways. So we'll take that. Get that. You can see we have the 12 attack there, though we're not doing any skulls, so that won't really help. Take out the red. You can basically just use hero alone to take out people if you just completely focus on the Warlord class and getting it upgraded as far as possible. Because it is really strong. You see this every single match, we're getting that crude club up. And right now that's doing 8 damage. Hero alone might take out this entire team, but I'll use the other one just to speed it up some. So we're not here all day. Another red. I do want to try using something else to get off that last hit, just so we don't waste the 1 HP. Probably Rawani. There we go, we already got it up. So that'll take him out without doing too much extra damage. Split damage is really good in the early game for reasons like this, because like you don't want to waste your whole crude club just to kill something with 1 HP. You'll want to use like some kind of split damage troop. This way it'll kill that and still do a bunch of damage to everyone else. It's really important you have something like that in the earlier game, because that's when it's most effective. So let's crude club this. He'll take that. I'll take the browns. Should I keep going brown? I think so. And we got the surge, so he's already filled. He's going to use that. That shouldn't be too big a deal. With 6 damage. We'll take out this rocket. And what now? What now? I'll take these yellows. Did I even get a single skull attack off this match? I don't think I did. And I got it specifically for that, and nope, didn't get a single one off. I don't think I did. I'll just get Ronnie up, and that'll finish this match off.
Mana surge.
And he'll use that, probably on that to kill it. Then he'll gain 6 random stat and attack, which will do nothing for him. And then we finish him off. Also, to help some of you guys out, I do have a redeem code once again, so I'll be giving that to you guys right now. And then I'll be getting into all of these chests and explaining what kind of troops are actually good within the early game. So let's go in here to shop, redeem codes, plug it in here, CS3HM1HNAS, click confirm, and we get the 2 maps, the 1 gem key, 200 souls, and 2,500 gold. Like I said with souls, keep upgrading your Warlord class up, get it all the way up. Let's go into here, click there, Warlord, get that extra level up on him. Hey, that's actually funny. That redeem code gives exactly enough for 1 level on your hero class. I never noticed that before, because unlike all other levelings in this game, Warlord class is constantly at a 200 cost, regardless of how far you have it leveled. All other troops in this game scale up proportionally as they go upwards. So let's go into opening all of these. Let's do the first gem key real quick. We get a Arcane Stealth Trait Stone. That is actually a really good drop because we'll be able to upgrade Goblin with it. That's actually an exceptional drop in early game. And later in the game you'll be like, I got this, but early game you need that. Well, that will be used to get, where is it? Let me type in Goblin. And that is used to get Goblin's last trait of Nature Link, which gives an extra green on all mana matches, which is really, really important. I'll probably upgrade him later and make an all Marauder team. I'll be going over teams and stuff later on, and these keys will probably give me everything I need to be able to explain everything in the early game here. So let's just open these up. I don't know if I'll stop early on them or what, but I'm just going to be going over, explaining any of the new ones that we get. Funness is okay. She is kind of like a Lamia, or whatever her name is. Except she only hits 1 person, but also gains life. That scales off of magic, so she can gain quite a bit of life. Hobgoblin is a really good drop. We just got him. He's used for the all Marauder deck. He deals 4 damage to an enemy, and then again to another enemy. And then gains an extra turn. He is extremely strong when paired with 3 other goblins. Runesmith, he is pretty useless in his current state. He's basically a weaker version of Spark Grinder, which you can find in Adana. You'll get him the Spark Grinder pretty early, so you can basically ignore Runesmith. He's no one. Stone Giant, a little weak. Deal 4 damage to a random enemy. Remove all reds. This would have been good during the Shegro fight, but it's a little bit late now. He does get Stone Skin, but overall, you can basically just ignore this troop. He's not that good. Same as Twisted Hero, you'll want to ignore. He just creates 5 red, 5 purples, and then gives a random stat to an ally. He's overall pretty bad. His traits aren't that good, and you won't really need him that much. Jinx is also really weak in this game right now. Wow, I'm getting a lot of weak troops right now. It gives some life to an ally, and then either creates 6 of their gem color, or gives them 2 magic. And that randomness on that makes it a absolutely horrible card. because its normal ability isn't that good, and then its other bonus doesn't really even do anything. Dwarf Lord is actually extremely good in the early game, especially since he got buffed a little while back. He has a static gain 8 armor at all levels. Like you can see, he's level 1 right now. And that is really powerful. If he can kill an enemy, he gets that 8 armor, and that makes him into the biggest tank ever. And he is really useful in the early game. He does only hit the first troop, but he ends up getting a lot of magic as you level him. So overall, he's a pretty good troop now. Dark Master again, he is really good. Don't forget about him too. Even though he's not new, you'll definitely be wanting to consider him. All summoning troops are pretty good in the early game. Edin, you can pretty much ignore. Just destroys a column, gains some attack, and it has to destroy... I mean, it's boosted by purple gems, so it's okay. It gains a little bit of attack, not too good though. Null is also pretty situational. You might use him against an all Rockburn team or something, but you don't really need him leveled. He deals damage to a random enemy and then deals triple if they're brown. But it's because it's random and because it's only brown, it doesn't really work out too well in most situations, unless their whole team's like brown or something. Griffin Knight you can kind of ignore. It is good in an all Swords Edge team if you're going like an all Knight with Swords Edge. It deals damage to a random enemy and then creates 7 yellow gems, so it's okay. That 7 yellow isn't too good though. Hellhound you can basically ignore. Just deal some damage to a random enemy and then burn or disease them. If it was both, it'd be better, but since it's either or, he doesn't really do too much. And disease is pretty bad in the current state of the game. Hippogriff, deal 4 damage to an enemy, deal triple if they have Hunter's Mark. This is an okay troop. Not too many uses for it since there's so few Hunter's Mark and quite a few other troops that have immunity to it. So you won't really need to worry about this troop too much. Jackalope is decent, especially when paired with something like Valkyrie. It does mana burn to an enemy, which is however much mana they have. It deals damage based on that, and then boosted by magic. It does 1 damage for every magic it has. And then the biggest thing is it transforms all yellows to blue. So something with a Valkyrie that also makes blue, or any other troop that also does blue, it works really well for just bluing off the board. Nymph is a pretty good counter if you need to entangle someone. If someone's like a really high attack, like if you see someone like who's like keeps boosting up their warlord class like I am with that 12 attack, you can easily counter this with something like a nymph. It entangles an enemy and then lowers their armor by It scales off of magic, and she does that for only 6 mana, so it's a really quick entangle to make sure enemy doesn't do any attack. Steam Turret you can basically ignore. It does have that random shot, but you'll find many other better ones that are in this game, like Rwani that you can get from Forest of Thorns, so you don't really need to worry about that too much. Winter Knight is a really good tank, especially in early game. It explodes a gem, which will give a decent amount of mana. I can't talk today. Gains 1 armor, and then that's boosted by the blue gems destroyed. So you can see there's only 1 armor, but if he destroys blue gems, he's doing that at 2 times ratio. So you destroy 3 gems, you just got 6 armor just from those destroyed gems. Plus he gains a barrier on top of all that, so he gets really tanky. And he's really good because you don't need traits for him to be excessively good. Just his ability alone makes him one of the best tanks in the game, especially for early game. Actually, early game, he is probably the strongest tank in the entire game. I'll probably need to show a team with him a little bit later on, now that I have so many other things. And then just a bunch of other souls and everything. So let's get through these. Spent quite a bit of time on that, but I want to explain every single troop as much as I can. Herald of Chaos. You get him from Blighted Lands for completing the quest line. He is an interesting hero. His traits you don't really need too much, especially since they're going to be pretty costly since he's an epic. But he destroys a row, deals 2 damage to the first enemy, and then reduces a skill by them by 2. And this is 2 is boosted by blue gems, just like that other one. So at a 2 times ratio, so he can really rack up a lot of damage. He is really good to consider in the early game. Oh, Chimera. This is also an extremely good early game troop. It deals 4 damage to the healthiest enemy. The healthiest is whatever enemy on the enemy team has the highest total HP and armor combined. It's based on the combination of both. And then it poisons and burns them for only a 10 mana cost. This is really good because poison and burn is super effective in the early game, because poison has a 50% chance to do 1 damage every turn, and burn does 3 damage every single turn until it dissipates. So you can do a lot of damage with this, and pretty much anyone you hit with this ability is dead in the early game. Dust Devil is also pretty good because he got nerfed recently, but that nerf is actually a buff to the early game. He deals 5 damage to all enemies and then knocks the first enemy to the back. This 5 damage is constant at all levels, regardless if he's level 1 right now or level 20, that will always be 5 damage, which is what makes him pretty good in the early game because you have him 5 just from the start. So if you find him, you can just start using him, and he gets really good the Empower trait once you get him fully traded. And once you get like a few of these, you can really wreak havoc in the early game with these. They're quite a bit of fun to use. And that moving the first troop to the back is extremely effective in the early game because most teams aren't set up to be able to compensate for a disturbance like that in their lineup. Frost Giant is an okay troop. It deals decent in early game. Deals 2 damage to a random enemy, and it's boosted by the number of skulls on the board at 1-1, and then it freezes that enemy. Goblin Shamian, another really good drop, is extremely important for the 4 Goblin team. It creates 7 gems and then gives a random ally 1 life, or life that's based on this magic, and then it gains an extra turn, which is the main thing. That gem spawn with the extra turn is really important on it. Hag you can basically ignore. It just does a random status effect for 9 mana and then gives a random ally to. It's kind of like the Twisted Hero, except even weaker. Succubus is a interesting troop. It places Death Mark on a troop, which has a 10% chance to die that troop after 2 turns. And it's fairly decent in the early game because you can use it to kill people who are much higher than you. Because Death Mark doesn't care how strong the enemy is, it just cares on the percent chance of it occurring. So you can actually kill pretty strong teams by using people or troops with Death Mark and stuff like that. Her mana drain is fairly low because it scales off of magic in the early game, but it shouldn't be too big a deal since most troops also have low mana. Templar is also a fairly good drop. You use them mostly with double paladin or triple paladin decks and other things of the like. You can also use it with Rwani, which I might show a deck with that later on at a different time. It gives all allies 1 armor and then transforms all red gems to green and then boosts by effect. It is one of the lowest ratios in the game, but convert from reds to greens is extremely powerful because Paladin uses green and uses armor, and Rwani uses green and uses armor. So it works really well with the 2 major troops that scale off of armor. And then a bunch of trait stones, which will help us out. So let's go into another 50. Oh, we got Demotraxia, or I think that's how you say it. You get this from Darkstone. It's actually a pretty weak troop. It deals 5 damage randomly to all enemies and then a 25% chance to burn all enemies. You can basically ignore this troop. You won't need it. So things like Goblin Rocket and other troops are much better. Oh, we got a Knight Cornet. One of the strongest troops in the early to mid game right now. He deals 2 damage to the first and last enemy, and of course that scales off of magic. Removes all purple, and he gets boosted by a 2-to-1 ratio, which is really high. And just that alone does a lot of damage. But what really makes him like outstanding is his trait combination. He has Leader, which gives 3 to all stats. Warder Spirit, which gives +1 magic for every blue ally. And since he is a blue ally, he automatically gains 1 there. And then Stone Skin, which makes him an extremely hard tank by reducing skull damage by 50%. So he is outstandingly strong. And you'll definitely want to get him traded if you get him early game. He is one of the best tanks you can get early game. Him and that Winter Knight are really good tanks to consider. Marsh Raptor you can pretty much ignore. It's good in arena, but you won't really need it anywhere else. It deals 5 damage to the weakest enemy, then gains 3 attack and magic if the enemy dies. Not too good. Sand Shark. Sand Shark is an interesting troop because you can actually use this fairly well in early game. It deals damage to a random enemy, but its main thing is it has a 25% chance to devour an enemy. So completely destroy them. It'll get all their attack, all their armor, all their life at a 25% chance to do that. But it has a 12 mana cost. Sand Shark has the lowest mana cost for a devour chance in the entire game. So he's an interesting troop to pair with a brown gem spawners or red gem spawners. So he's interesting to consider if you can get like 2 or 3 of him. And the rest seems like repeat. Oh, and we got Rex Warrior. You can ignore Rex Warrior. He cleanses himself, deals 3 damage to an enemy, and then gains 4 attack if the enemy dies. Not too good. The cleanses makes it a little bit better, but you won't need him. And that's everything for here. Let's get into another 50. And we're getting a lot of new ones again. Anointed One. Gains attack and a life whenever it casts, and then it transforms all green gems to red. He will be a little bit hard to get because you don't actually get this epic from a kingdom. You can ignore him for the most part unless you start getting someone like Shegra or something. He works best with something like that. Other than that, there's a lot of other troops that you can use to outclass him. Even Hero will end up being better than him. A Warlord class hero can actually do more damage than Anointed One, so you won't need him too much. Ragnagord is an interesting troop. You also can't get him from a kingdom. He's actually the very first like seasonal event that came like a long while ago. But all he does is explode a couple gems of a chosen color. He's kind of like Gorgolfa, except with no good traits. So you won't really need him either. He's kind of an obsolete troop at this current point. Oh, we got Druid. This is actually really good in the early game. It deals 3 damage to 2 random enemies, kind of like the Hobgoblin, what it does. Except it doesn't have an extra turn, but its damage output will be higher than the Hobgoblin once you start leveling him. Something else is his traits are really good. You can actually make a team out of like 3 or 4 of him, or 3 of him and a Valkyrie. Works really well. Once you start getting him traded, he has that water link, which makes him really good, especially once you start pairing him with himself. Blessed, which if he lands on magic, he'll be doing a lot more damage. And the fast already puts him at half mana, so that with water link works really well for filling a bunch of them up. And you can just like keep casting him over and over again. He is really good in the early game. Goblin Rocket is another one of a really good troops that we'll need for an all-goblin deck if we want to build that later. He explodes a gem, deals 4 damage to a random enemy, and then 1 to the adjacent enemies. And the main important part about this is he gains an extra turn like all other goblins, which makes this a really effective board control spell. And his traits are pretty good too, because you get Fire Link plus you get Flame once you get that up, which will help get him up quicker. And then if you have him more towards up front, he'll be able to burn, which is really good early game. Let's see, what else do we have here? Spider Queen reduces the enemy's mana and then reduces their armor. She's okay. You won't need her too much. She's good in arena, but you won't really need her out of arena. Alkalite is one of the main brown gem spawners. He creates 9 brown gems and then increases a random skill of his own. He also gets some pretty good traits. He gains the Stone Link, which will help get even more brown. Curse, which is really effective in early game. And Jinx is kind of obsolete, but it's helpful. Oh, we also got an Alchemist, which is also really good early game. There's a lot of good early game trips. I'll need to be showing some builds with all of these later on. Probably get up to level 20 so I can show 3 slots and then just keep cycling through them later. But okay, let's get into this. He transforms all of his selected color to yellow, and then he gains a bunch of gold. So you'll basically get the max capacity of gold, which I think is like 105 or 110 or something. And then your armor boosts that too. So he can gain a lot of gold for you within a match. But the main thing, of course, is he creates a lot of yellows, and he's good for pairing with anything that uses a lot of yellow. Oh, we got Valkyrie! And not just one Valkyrie, we got 3 Valkyries. Valkyrie, if you get Valkyrie, go to her, use all your souls on her instantly, and then make a team around her. The second you get Valkyrie in early game, you are going to want to use her in a deck. She is absolutely ridiculous for farming early game, mid game, late game, any kind of form in this game. It always farms quick. It transforms a selected mana color to blue, and it gains 2 souls. But this 2 souls isn't a static 2 souls. She always, this souls is boosted by her magic. And by the time she gets higher level, she gets a ridiculous amount of souls. She also has a Necromancer trait, which increases the amount of souls you get to the max capacity by 50%. The max capacity for a match is 40. This doesn't raise that 50% to 60. All this does is make it easier to get to that 40 limit. But she alone can farm that max limit of 40 every single match if you get a decent matchup with her. So she can, pretty much every single match you do, you're getting 40 souls or more when you use her. So she is really effective. It will be a little bit less early on when she's at lower levels. But once you start getting her up to like level 17, 18, 19, maybe even 20 once you get her mythic. That's a long time around though. You'll probably get her around like 17 though. But she'll start getting a lot more souls then, especially once you start getting Magic Kingdoms and stuff. But yeah, Valkyrie, level her up right now if you get her. She is really important. You need her in pretty much every single deck that you can find, try to fit her in. She is extremely good. White is also a pretty decent troop. He steals 2 life from an enemy. That steal is actually, it deals damage and then it takes that life from them. So it does 2 true damage and then also gains 2 HP. So that's really effective. That scales off of magic. So once you start getting magic on this thing, it starts becoming a ridiculously large tank. Plus it creates some purple gems, which helps a little bit. Its traits are okay. Water Link's the main one. And you can use him with something like Valkyrie if you want as well. It works pretty well. And that's all these for these. Let's get in some marquees. We have... Oh, we got a legend! Venoxia! Create 9 green gems and 9 blue gems. Deal 2 true damage to all enemies. And then gains attack based on its magic. Venoxia is actually a pretty good legendary early on. Because this 2 true damage actually doesn't scale off of magic. It's always 2. But this makes it good because early game troops have low HP to begin with. So once this thing starts looping, it's actually really good in the early game. So I might have to try this out later on with something like Ronnie or something. I don't know. Finnair, you can basically ignore him. He's pretty useless. Yeah. He gives an ally attack if they're a beast. He gives even more. And then also gives the HP gain to all allies. It seems like he'd be a good support, but he has bad traits. He has bad everything. There's not that many beasts that he synergizes well with, and he just falls off pretty quick. You don't really need him. Sunweaver, you get this one from the Wild Plains for completing the quest line. She's actually really good in the early, or pretty much always. She increases the attack, armor, and life of an ally, and that's scaled off of magic. And she also gives them 6 mana, which is very helpful. Oh, we got Tyree! I kind of completely skipped Cesarion. Explanation of Cesarion. You will never need him in his current state. Ignore him. You get him from the new kingdom of Glacial Peaks. A lot of the troops there are good. He is not. He's one of the worst in the game probably right now. Tyree! Yes, Tyree and Valkyrie are the 2 biggest farmers you can ever have on your team. You definitely want to have these 2. She destroys 5 gems, and that scales off her magic. She then gains 5 gold. That's always a constant 5 gold. That doesn't scale at all. But her main thing, which makes her an absolute beast at farming, is a 20% chance to also gain a map every single time she casts her spell. That is an absolutely ridiculous farming spell. You can get so many maps with her using a Valkyrie Tyree team and then putting some other troops that happen to work real well with it. She is a ridiculous troop for farming. Her and Valkyrie, you need to level them, you need to get them in your team because they will farm you like crazy. If you don't happen to get her from a chest stop, Tyree is really easy to get. You get her from the Zolkari kingdom, and you'll definitely want to get her as soon as possible. Rush over there, get her, and she'll farm all the maps you'll ever need. Zephyrus is an okay troop. He's actually he's not that good late game, but he's really good early game. He destroys a column, deals 6 damage randomly split around enemies. But the main thing he does is he's boosted by yellow gem destroyed. But he has a 3 times ratio on that. So you destroy something like 4 gems, that's an extra 12 attack on top of that. So he can really start to do quite a bit of damage. He isn't associated with a kingdom though, so you'll just have to get him by lucky chance. So you probably won't be able to get him that easily. So you don't really need him if you happen to get him. There's a lot of other good yellow blues, and you won't really have to get him. His traits are also pretty bad, and like I said, he falls off later in the game, so you don't really need him too much. Don't waste your souls on him, I guess. Oh, Stargazer. Stargazer is an interesting troop. She's actually pretty good with attack troops later on, with things like Shegra, Bone Dragon, other things. She gives in an ally attack and then removes all blue. To boost the ratio at 4-1. That might seem like a little bit bad at first, but the 2 things that makes this really good is the fact that she removes blue, which counters things like Valkyrie, and the fact that she hasn't powered. She is the only troop in the game with the power like this that can buff another ally's attack. So she's really good at putting her as a support in like the back line, and then using her to buff up your very first troop or your second troop. Plus she has Bless. She is a really good offensive support. Okay, so I think I'm just going to do 50 more and then end it here. As you can see, I have more keys than I'll ever need to like really open. And I don't want to open too many and just like start leaving out of like early game. So let's just do another 50 right now and go over these. Alistair, I don't really care for you. He does do an armor buff and removes purples at a 3-to-1, which will help like buff things like Rwani and other troops. And he then gains a barrier as well. But overall, things like Templar and other troops like that are much better than what he does. His traits aren't that good, and you won't really need him. You do get him from, what's that, Kedar, I think it's called. You do get him as for finishing the quest line there, but other than that, you don't really need him. And is there anything else there? It doesn't seem to be. So I think I'm going to be wrapping this video off here. I don't want to be opening too much of these, like I said. Next video, I'll probably go over some teams and just show some more combat and stuff. Like I said earlier, I probably will be doing a giveaway to see if I can fill some of these slots in this guild up, because I know some of you want to be getting these kind of resources. Like I've had at least a dozen of you ask me so far, asking to come in this guild, and I need to like confirm it with Felicity first, because it is her guild after all, and I don't want to like I don't know if she has any plans or friends or things like that want to come in or anything like that. But that will do it for this video. I hope this was helpful, and thanks for watching this series.